Hello folks, this is video number 120 and the title is 2 for 1. Well, my stories are getting farther apart. I've covered a lot of territory in 120 stories. This one came to mind a couple days ago. It took place on a dirt road, somewhere between Falls and Centermoreland. A witness had called the Dallas office reporting that two people shot a deer out the window of their vehicle. This was the first or second day of the season. Dallas relayed the directions to me by radio, and I proceeded to the location of the witness's residence. I arrived, and the witness came out to meet me. We introduced ourselves, and I inquired to the location of where the violation took place. The witness told me it was right there in front of his house, but just across the road. His house was only about 40 or 50 feet from the road. The shooter just pulled up in front of his house and shot a buck on the other side of the road, less than 50 yards from his front door. I walked across the road and found a nice buck lying about 10 yards off the road. I also found a nice doe lying dead 10 feet behind the buck. The shot that dropped the buck had passed clear through and also killed a doe that was standing behind the buck. I checked along the edge of the road for a shell casing, but found none. It would be in the vehicle. I figured the shooters would be coming back for the buck not long after dark. I planned on hiding my vehicle and waiting them out, but first I needed some more information from the witness. I walked back to his house, and I interviewed him as we stood next to my Ram Charger. I asked about the approximate time of the violation. Next, I asked about the number of occupants in the vehicle. There were two people, the driver and the shooter. Next, I asked him if he got a license number. He did not. I asked him to describe the vehicle the best he could. About that time, he looked past me and said, "It looks just like the one coming down the hill right now." Well, I asked him to walk back to the porch, and I stepped in front of my vehicle to avoid them spotting my uniform. I watched the approach of the vehicle through the windows. When they got close, I stepped out with hand raised, signaling to stop, and pointed to the roadside for them to pull over. They pulled over. I directed them to shut off the engine. The witness was approaching, and I asked if they were the two we saw previously. He acknowledged that they were indeed the same ones. They were dressed in orange, and I saw a rifle on the back seat with the action open. I told them I needed to see their hunting licenses, driver's licenses, and the registration for the vehicle. I also secured the keys to the ignition, as the vehicle was used unlawfully. I took out my citation case and leaned on my hood so I could watch the two culprits. I filled out citations for both. They were cited for killing two deer through unlawful methods. They were also cited for using a vehicle to hunt and for shooting within 25 yards of the road. That section covered the shooting from a vehicle. There are three considerations regarding game laws and regulations. They are 1. Human safety, 2. Population control, 3. Fair chase. Shooting out the window or just jumping out and shooting from the road is not fair chase. They were looking at $1,200 apiece. I could have also cited them for hunting in a safety zone, but when I explained to the witness that they were looking at that much in fines already, he didn't think it necessary to tack on another $100 for the safety zone situation. It was his safety zone and his call. I explained to the violators that they had three options. 1, they had the right to a hearing at the local magistrate. 2, they could settle on a field acknowledgement and pay the fine directly to me at the state police barracks and receive an official numbered receipt I had to sign for the pack of receipts and was required to account for each. I established a meeting time that my fellow deputies were aware of so that anyone they cited could meet me at that time to settle their fines. Number 3, they had the option to plead guilty at the magistrate and set up a payment schedule or pay it in full along with $37.50 in court costs. They went with option number 3. The magistrate would forward the fines collected directly to the Game Commission. I gave the vehicle keys back. I only held a vehicle for evidence twice in 13 years. They don't run off when you take the keys. In case you were wondering, I met with a salaried officer every week or so and turned over any and all monies and paperwork to him, and he compiled everything for the district monthly reports. We didn't have a salaried officer in our district for 7.5 years. I was very active and handled most of the hunter safety program preparation as well. I was designated to be the lead officer in the district and did so for 3 years prior to getting a full-time officer once again. And this concludes my little story about 2 for 1. All the best, folks. All the best.